You common cry of curs, whose breath I hate, as reek or rotten fens, whose love I prize as the dead carcasses of unburied men that do corrupt my air. I banish you, and here remain with your uncertainty. Let every feeble rumor shake your hearts. Your enemies with nodding of their plumes fan you into despair. That's from Coriolanus, which is what we're here to discuss tonight. Welcome back to week 2 of the Teacup for One Shakespeare movie marathon. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees, and we're talking about one of my favorite Shakespeare movies of all time tonight. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But let's see who we have in the chat joining us for tonight. We've got my cats. This is Eliza. I'm busy relaxing tonight, so I won't be watching, and I don't enjoy Shakespeare. Have fun. It's true. Eliza is more a fan of George Bernard Shaw. Eliza is actually named for a George Bernard Shaw character who will be in a movie that we'll be discussing in a few weeks. So it's pretty easy to figure out, but I'm not going to give it away. Next, my other cat, Sabrina Fairchild. You don't think you liked the movie. You saw part of it. It wasn't very happy. It's true. It's not a happy movie. It's not a happy movie. And maybe even we'll say right now, content warning, trigger warning. It's a movie that deals with like war, violence, unaliving, both of self and of others. There's a lot of darkness. But at the end of the day, it's also a movie about a mother's love. And speaking of a mother's love, my mom's here. There we go. Hi, Martha. So there we go. I'm so excited to dive into this movie. Let's bring in our guests for this evening. Our first guest, you know her, you love her. It's Jeanette, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Joyous salutations. I just finished this movie.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Amazing. And what did it teach you about motherhood?
Hopefully not much. I thankfully took away no lessons about motherhood from this film, as I don't think many people should, at least in my opinion. I think that's usually my outcome from most Shakespeare is I think. It doesn't translate well for me, as I'm sure many things that I enjoy may not translate well for other people. So it's always a learning experience for me, and I'm so blessed to have friends that bring me into Shakespeare.
Woo! That's what we're here for. Love it. All right. So, what's a good opening question aside from what you teach us about motherhood? What is your favorite war movie?
Oh God, I knew it. I knew you were gonna do this. So great. I hate war movies usually.
So do I,
Like,
usually.
yeah, by proxy, if the movie is simply about war, I don't know. So I'm inclined to give you a smart ass answer like Forrest Gump or Tropic Thunder. Those would probably be the first 2 war movies that jump to my mind. I'm sure I do enjoy an actual war movie. I just can't think of it right now.
My answer is very divisive.
Oh, Gone with the Wind. Is that a war movie? That's a war movie.
That's a war movie. That's
yeah,
a war
Gone
movie.
with the Wind. There you go.
My favorite war movie.
Sure, Sound of Music.
I've only seen this movie once that I'm about to say, but I remember thinking this while sitting in the theater. I was like, this is the greatest war movie I have ever seen. And it does depict a real world war, but there are a lot of fantasy and science fiction elements in like ingrained as well. But I feel like at its heart, it's an exploration of war in general. And that movie is Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie.
I still never watched it.
It's so good. It's the only DC movie that I would say I love. It's amazing. From the one, it doesn't hold.
The one I love is what's the one? It's the second, not the first. I don't know, the bad Jared Leto one, the one that had John Cena in it. I like that one.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Nice.
I was like, wait, what's the name? Can't even remember it. Yeah, that's it.
That's like probably a war movie too.
Probably. Sure. Yeah. I think aren't all Avengers movies war movies?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Can I just say the MCU? That's fine.
Yeah. Captain America.
Yeah, we made it from Forrest Gump to the MCU. It's great.
Love that. Speaking of Captain America, let's bring in our very own Captain Canada. I don't know what kind of segue that was, but it's Vince. Look, Vince is here.
Captain Canada. Hey,
Vince?
How's it going, everyone? It's funny you bring up the Suicide Squad because I just finished watching Peacemaker, which I really liked. It's like the
I gotta jump back on it.
Yeah, I know nothing. I know that there's an intro to that show where they dance.
Yeah,
It is
and
very
a
good.
hell of an intro it is. I didn't skip a single episode.
Delightful. Vince,
Yeah,
what's your favorite war movie?
well, you almost stole mine with Wonder Woman just because I love World War One so much, but I'm gonna go with 1917.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's amazing.
It's
1970.
a spectacular movie. They make it look like it's all one shot. Sam Mendes directs it really well. It's just a spectacular film.
Nice. I remember really enjoying All Quiet last year more than I thought I would if we're talking
Mm.
World War I movies. Maybe not even enjoying, but being captivated by it. Specifically, the shot where the tank crushed that one guy. I can't unsee that. I still dream of that sometimes. But
Kind of get that in Austin Powers.
yeah, it's not as juicy, I would say.
That's true.
Yeah. Yoda for Mark is here. Okay, Google search autofilled Shakespeare Shakira, so you may get your facts completed.
We can only hope.
Wait, I can't wait. All right, let's bring in
Nine hips don't lie.
Neither do Coriolanus's. Let's bring in our final guest for this evening, the Teacup for One reigning Oscar prediction champion. It's Anna Swanson, everyone.
Hello, greetings, I should say.
Greetings indeed. So good to have you. Anna, what's your favorite war movie?
I mean, that's so tough because, like, I could get finicky and say, like, if Cold War movies count, then there's a bunch of James Bond movies I have to put in the running. But also, like, it's very hard to pick a favorite movie of all time, but if I have to, like, Inglourious Bastards is in the running there.
Oh!
So I think I have to say that as my favorite war movie.
Okay.
But I also thought
smart.
of Doctor Strangelove as, like, another one that I have to, because it's so good.
Okay.
There are so many good war movies.
Wait a
I
minute.
know,
Yeah, it's
there's
definitely
so many
Inglourious Bastards. I think you hit
Yeah.
that
Well, also, if you get into, like, fictional wars, there's probably a lot of, like, action movies
That's what
and,
I'm
like,
saying. Like
fantasy
Avengers.
that are like,
Yeah.
this isn't a real war, but it is to them.
Yeah, and I feel like this one, Coriolanus, at least this film adaptation, it kind of falls in the middle, where I'm sure the text it's writing about an actual war that happened in history, and it's contextualizing it. I feel in terms in like in a world that could be any war that's happened in our lifetime, or at least like in the past 20-ish to 30 years or so. So yeah. That said, let's talk about Coriolanus. Woot. So as I said last week, a few years ago on this channel, one of my first videos was like Matt's top 5 favorite Shakespeare movies of all time. And it was a very divisive list. Real Shakespeare fans got really angry and said I was stupid. But I ranked this as my number 2 favorite of all time. And that was where no one disagreed. They were like, yes, it's great. Rewatching it again recently, it holds up. It's even better than I remembered. I adore this movie. But let's just open with opening question. Has anyone seen this movie prior to today? And if not, what is your first impression? I've already sort of started, so I'll just say the first time I saw it, I had no context for the play. It was a play I had never seen, read, and only knew that it had a title that had anus in it because people like to giggle at that sometimes, and it's still never not funny. And I just sat in the theater and was engrossed by how good it was, both filmically as well as how much I loved the story. And what really stood out to me was, again, going in with no context whatsoever, I was so taken by Vanessa Redgrave's character. And most of tonight will probably just be me talking about how much I love both Vanessa Redgrave and that role. But I guess opening statement is I was sitting there the whole time thinking, this character is so interesting. Why don't people talk about her more? And did they gender swap her to be a mom for this movie specifically because they had Vanessa Redgrave, or was she written as a female character originally? And it turned out she was written as a female character originally, which just blew my mind even more, because I feel like an ongoing conversation in Shakespeare circles is like there aren't like enough or really any good roles for female actors over a certain age. But I'm like, right here, there's this one. This role is incredible.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they make fun of it in Slings and Arrows, which is a show that everyone should watch and I love, where one of the female actresses that's been with the Shakespeare Festival for years, she's like, you get to a certain point in your career where all that's left is the dreaded nurse, and you just play the nurse, and then that's when you know it's all over. I'm like, well, but now you can be Coriolanus's mom. Anyway, I love this movie. I love that character. There we are, opening statement. Jeanette, was this your first time watching it? What'd you think?
Oh, for sure. This was my first time watching it. This was not. I say this, when I looked at the cast, I was like, well, there's no way I can't be entertained. And that's true. I was entertained enough to finish the movie. I can't, it's when there's, I have this thing when there's no sex or supernatural stuff in Shakespeare, all my interest just goes right out the door. I'm like, all right, you lost me. Now I'm like, it's hard for me to make it through it. It's just not my speech. I'm like an Anne Rice lover. I don't know. I need you to like spell it out in my language. Big, like big. So sometimes I got a little lost and I had to wait for the next scene to be like, oh, okay, cool. That guy's on that guy's side. Cool. Like those two lawyers that were working for the people, but not for the people. I was like, are they lawyers? I don't know. Are they councilmen? I don't know. So I made it through it. I love Ralph Fiennes. Like he's just amazing. Everybody in this film's amazing. That said, Coriolanus's parents were my two favorite people. Like my two favorite performances, probably my two favorite characters, just because I was unsure of what they would do next, more so than anybody else. Yeah, we'll get to it later about Jessica Chastain, not about her performance, just about her character.
Like the most thankless role in the whole thing.
I'm just like, why did we pay Jessica Chastain to do next to nothing? I don't know why you paid. You could have saved that money, I'm sure. But yeah, it's 2011 too.
She didn't cost as much then.
Yeah.
She was still kind of a.
She had been in, what is it? Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30.
No, that was
30,
later.
That's it.
That was like 2013, I think.
Okay, so yeah, see, like she wasn't. Yeah, you're right. She wasn't quite there yet. So
I think this would have been the same year as like The Help.
Yeah, that sounds
okay.
right.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense. So I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the worst war movie I've sat through, but it's not my favorite. It's not Inglourious Bastards.
It's true.
So to honest point, like that's just. But yeah, I don't know. The performances were fantastic.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Vince, how about you? Was this your first time seeing it?
This was my first time seeing it, but my boss recommended this film to me like 6 months ago. I've been meaning to watch it ever since. So that was my ulterior motive in trying to shoehorn it into this Shakespeare review cycle.
Nice.
And you know what? I'm happy because I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, but I still liked it. There were some good knife fights. And you gotta love a good knife fight in a movie, you know.
And this has a lot of good
Agree.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Dune
Ralph,
too.
I think Ralph did a great job. I haven't seen Dune 2 yet. I know I've been meaning to for weeks.
Ooh,
If
yeah,
you want a good knife fight.
Yeah.
The more I
that's-
hear about Dune
that's
2,
the
the more I
place to
want
go.
to go against my morals and see it. My morals just being I decided I don't like Dune. But
Fair enough.
Just
Yeah, I just
message
wanna
Ben
say-
and ask if you want to go see it in IMAX because he will say yes.
I would actually love
Any time of day.
Oh, I would adore that. Anna, how about you? Was this your first time seeing it?
So this was my first time seeing it in full. I think I watched clips of this in a course I took on tragedy. I don't think we covered it too much, but the prof of that course was like a big Brechtian. So I think because I think at one point Brecht wanted to adapt this, but didn't. So I think he probably, as far as I can remember, I think he might have spoken a bit about that and then like shown some clips of this. But I didn't remember super well. I just remember seeing like Ralph Fiennes' Shakespeare, and then when I saw this, I was like, oh, that had to have been it. That makes sense. So yeah, this was my first time seeing it, and I liked it. I thought it was good. I don't know if I would say it's like top tier Shakespeare adaptations for me, but yeah, I thought it was really good. I think I kind of same thing. Performances. I mean, Vanessa Redgrave. Like once you get Vanessa Redgrave in a movie, it's kind of like, all right, well, the bar is just automatically a little bit higher in that regard. But yeah, I think Brian Cox is great. I think what is his name? James Nesbitt, the like Irish one. I thought he was great. I really liked him in this.
The brother from
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Really good performances. I did enjoy it. I think it's a good story. So yeah,
agreed. Like I think the reason that I love this movie so much, and I appreciate it even more having watched like recordings of staged productions of Coriolanus. I haven't seen it live yet, but I think it just does such a great job as an adaptation to make the story, for the most part, make sense. I mean, I still was and still remain kind of confused as to the specifics of what's going on politically with all of them, but he does so much to, I think, guide us along in a way that's not pandering by having like all the newscasts contextualize what's happening, to outright write it on the screen to say like, the Volskys are doing this.
Yeah, can we say that that's a, that maybe somebody took some notes from Boz Luhrmann? I mean, that seems to be the vehicle that we get fed this through is news.
I love that.
It's fine. Yeah, it makes total sense.
I also like they got a real newscaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Jon Snow. It's great. I love seeing him read like Shakespearean dialogue.
And he fits right in with the
Yeah,
other.
he does such a good job with it.
It's so good. Yeah, I get really thrilled by that specific invention in modern Shakespeare films, where I'm assuming more often than not they're taking like snippets of text from messenger characters, and then you even if you just like hear it in passing in the background, like that's the type of adaptation stuff that makes me so excited. But yeah, I feel like this adaptation, it just does such a good job of laying out what's happening narratively compared to how the story unfolds on stage. Because when I watch it on stage, I have to have Wikipedia open to follow everything that's going on. But here, more or less, it's pretty obvious, which I like. And then coupled with that, I think the performances are why I adore this movie so much, because I think it's a well-made film from a filmic perspective, coupled with just having like some of the best classical actors who also have film careers of the era doing their thing, and from all different generations. Like you have Vanessa Redgrave and then you have Jessica Chastain together on screen, and she's so good. She's so good. But anyway, let's talk. What was everyone's favorite part or favorite element of the film? Whether it was a performance, a scene, a line of dialogue. I'll go back to Vanessa Redgrave's character, because I think, also having seen other productions of this now, this kind of set a standard for me, and it's hard for me to accept any other Volumnias. I think that's how you say her name, outside of her. I think the fact that they made her very overtly like an ex-military or a retired military matriarch was just such a brilliant move that I don't think is in the text. It might be, but it's just so pertinent in this characterization. And one thing that I got out of this viewing that I didn't get before is I just love how she has the one scene where she's saying to Ray Fiennes, like, just go tell them what they want to hear that will help elevate you, even if you don't actually believe it. Like, let the empty words just live on your tongue and they don't have to reflect what you feel. And then he says, I can't do that. And then at the end, I almost get the impression that that's what she's doing when she goes to talk him down and essentially say, no, don't go to war. It's like, how can we trust what you're saying right now? Because you outright said 2 hours ago, just say what you need to say to get people to do what you need them to do. She's just such a fascinating character, because I think you can, depending on the actor, there are so many angles you can approach it from. I feel like she's just such a brilliant manipulator, for lack of a better word, and Vanessa's just so good. Anyway, but that's the next thing I'll say about Vanessa. I'll probably keep bringing it back to how much I love her. But Vince, what was your favorite thing about this movie?
I touched on this a little bit earlier, but that first knife fight between Gerard Butler and Ralph Fiennes, and they went flying through the window. Once they went through, smashing through that window, I jumped out of my seat. I was like, all right. That kind of reminded me of the knife fight between Steven Seagal and Tommy Lee Jones at the end of Under Siege, which is generally considered the best Steven Seagal movie. There's a little bit of debate there, but I love a good knife fight. It's good. It's close. It's intimate, you know? They didn't have force fields around them or anything, but it's still good. Old-fashioned. I liked it.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you to see Dune 2.
How does the knife fighting compare in Dune 2 to this? Is there more? Is it more intense?
Dune 2 is like the best knife fight.
Nice.
It's so good. It'll all make sense once everyone sees it.
Does
I'm
Austin
dying to.
Butler and or Timothy Chalamet stab like the other, and then they just caress them lovingly while they die?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was beautiful.
It was.
Josh Brolin and Dave Bautista show up and carry them off like tiny little women.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I guess just to that point, another reason I love this movie is I think the action is integrated so seamlessly. Yeah, it's so good. Anna, what was your favorite thing?
Well, you talked about Vanessa Redgrave, so I can't say that. So I'll
Oh,
say
we can talk
um,
about all
I
that.
really appreciated this optimistic fantasy utopia where a politician expresses contempt for the people, and everyone's like, "That's not allowed." It's a wonderful world to imagine. I would love to know what that's like.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's one of the things I find the most engaging about this story is just seeing that the play back and forth between the politicians and the people, and even having them in a position of power where they can vote somebody, but then just cut them down an hour later and say, "No, we changed our mind. We don't
Mhm.
like you. It's over," and then banish them. It shall be so. Hashtag
Could
it
you
shall be so.
imagine if we could banish politicians?
Gosh.
Right? I was thinking that. I was like, okay, well, we had a certain day in January. I would have loved to have done that. That would have been really great. But no.
Is that the closest we've had in our lifetimes to something kind of like what we see in this
Dude,
movie?
I was having
Freddie
flashbacks. I was like, what is this movie? When was this? And that's when I went and looked. I was like, this is 2011. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, this is a
Crazy.
little slightly. I'm sure back then it was like, oh, well, this is in some other country and it looks so foreign. And it's like, no, this looks awfully terrestrial. Like really domestic. So yeah, that was sorry to
It shall
jump
be
in. But
so.
when you said that, I was like, yeah, no, I hear you.
And Jeanette, what was your favorite part?
I really like I can never remember the man's name. I always want to call him the guy from Men in Black, and it's not him. What's this guy's name from Secession?
Brian Cox?
Oh,
Brian Cox, that's it. I never remember
Inside
that
the
man's
actor
name.
studio.
Yeah, so I keep getting him like yeah, I get him confused with a lot of people. So anyway, his performance in general was kind of my favorite part, but his comedic portions like at the beginning when he's talking to the wife and then when he's talking to the guys at the table and he has to like everything has to be so with the way that Shakespearean language is set up, those scenes don't you don't know what's going on if somebody doesn't act them correctly. So I don't know, I just really like his smooth talking. I that was kind of what got me through this was him, and then whenever he went I was like, oh no, how much time is left? I really like him. He's getting me through this.
But then right after that, we get the scene with the three of them when Vanessa Redgrave's like, "Smarten up, son."
Yeah, yeah. So
Ridiculous.
but yeah, his performance in general was kind of my favorite, but like the comedics, especially those things.
Yeah, and I think that's well, going back to sort of why I said I love this movie is that seeing this, especially like the week after we did Baz Luhrmann's William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet, it's just so clear the difference when you have actors who have a lot of experience with classical text versus actors who pretty well don't or have next to none, because people like Brian Cox, I think in this are just able to make it flow so effortlessly in a way that even if you don't understand exactly what's being said, you understand the gist just with how they're phrasing things. And that's kind of the key to all of it. And I don't really think there's a weak link textually in this cast. Maybe the kid because
No.
he's really young, but like still he's pretty good for
Yeah.
a child. And yeah, Jessica Chastain, it's a utter waste of Jessica Chastain.
Yeah,
Why do you think the character's there?
I'm like, sure, this character deserves somebody who can uphold it. But I'd love to know what her salary on this film was for how much work she put in. Like, I'm just like, what's going on here? I mean, I would love to know the screen time, but also there's literally a scene that stood out to me where like she's literally lurking in another room in the background, and I was like, is this what we had to get her on camera for some more time? So she's like lurking. She doesn't say anything. It's pretty funny. I can't remember exactly what scene it is, but she's like behind a glass door and she's like walking and looking. I'm like, what's going on?
She's so well, I guess the character is passive.
Mhm.
Well, but it's just interesting to me because I was watching one of the pre-recorded productions I watched was from Stratford here in Ontario. And like the actress that they had playing that role is one of like Stratford's top tier people. Like she was the girl who played the lead in Carousel when they did Carousel. She was the lead in Guys and Dolls. Like she's the person who is one of their headliners. And they, for that season, they were like, okay, this year you're Coriolanus's wife. And then there she is. And it was the same thing with Jessica Chastain. I went in and I thought, oh, yeah, you're great. You're going to carry this. And Why aren't you doing more?
You're in it for 8 minutes.
Maybe it's like
Maybe.
a rite of passage where you have to put in your time playing his wife, and then one day you get to play his mom.
Yeah.
I love that.
Also, can I just say, Gerard Butler, really good in this.
Yes.
Not someone I would have guessed as like, yeah, put him in a Shakespeare adaptation, but I really liked him in this.
Did you not see 300? No. I only half sarcastically mean that. It kind of reads that way for
Yeah, no,
me,
it
but
does. It's not that far off, you know? The same way that like Brian Cox in Troy, I was like getting flashbacks to that.
oh my God, you're right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That movie is
Agamemnon.
like both a really big hit and a really big miss for me
I
at the same time.
I'm
never
like so shameless.
Troy.
I love it.
Yes. Oh, Troy was so well. The one time I watched it, it was so. I want to revisit Troy, but I have a soft spot for Greek mythology as well. We need more Greek mythology.
I love a big epic, you know?
Yes, that was a big epic. Except I don't think they gave us the Trojan horse, did they? In that movie, did we get the horse?
You do see
Yeah.
it. It's not like the focal point, but you do see it.
It is a little disappointing. Yeah, you go in there kind of thinking, like, hey,
It's the Trojan horse movie,
this
and then
isn't about Troy, but
I grew up with a Crayola kids adventure movie. It was like classical stories told by children playing all the roles. There were 3 of them on VHS. It was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Gulliver's Travels, and the Trojan War. And that one, like, it was only a half hour. It was all about the horse. And so that set my standard.
you gotta love when people got 3 chances at something and one of them is a war. When you're talking to kids, you're like, it's great.
Yeah.
It was great. I loved it. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I feel like the only saving grace I can give to that character on paper is that I almost feel like she's a necessary balance to the mom, because the mom is so intense with everything, where she's like, go, fight, war, that even though she does fall into kind of the stereotype of the quiet, passive wife of the soldier, I don't mind it, I guess, so much in this context, just because of how intense Volumnia is. But yeah, how does everyone feel about that character? What do we think? Do we think she's as important to the text as this movie makes her seem to be? Like, what is this movie? This movie to me really kind of puts at the forefront that mother-son relationship, and I almost feel with each subsequent viewing like she's almost the cause of everything. Like, the pressure that she puts on him is why he is the way he is, until it gets out of her control. Did anyone else feel that?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
so.
now that you mention that, I see that. I totally see that. I think it's also tough because, I mean, I've never seen any other adaptation of this, so it's hard to know what other like routes a director would go with for like how much that character is emphasized, or like how you read her, you know? Like this, it feels very intentional that she's telling him what to do and she's right and she has like all of this. And I think, I think it could go in a different direction where she comes across as a little bit meeker, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, because when I looked up that character's Wikipedia page, the first thing is just a painting of her in that scene when she goes to talk to Coriolanus, and it's just like this tragic looking frail woman draped in white who's like lying on the ground grabbing him crying, and I'm like, I feel like this is probably what the original portrayal of this character was in Shakespeare's time, until maybe we got to a point where people were able to read more subtext into it potentially. But
yeah.
I find her so fascinating. But yeah, so I had another question. It's gone now. Well, while I wait for it to come back, what was everyone's least favorite thing about this movie? My least favorite thing was that I feel like it ends really abruptly, although I felt that less on this viewing. But my first impression the first time, I was like, oh, that's his body. Cut to black. We're done here. It doesn't annoy me as much as it used to, but there it is. Jeanette, what was your least favorite thing?
I guess just war scenes, like gun scenes, where it's just war, which thankfully I guess there really wasn't too much of.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like right when I was getting happy and comfy with the movie, and then that happened, and then I was like, okay, well, I mean, that was good. And then it was like a lot of yelling men in a room, and I was like, okay, this is not as entertaining. I guess the middle of the movie, I like the beginning and I like the end. The middle of the movie is a little meh for me.
Vince?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jeanette here because I unfortunately I had to watch this movie twice. I fell asleep during the middle of the first time. And I remember really enjoying the beginning. And around the time where it was just a lot of dudes yelling at each other, I fell asleep for a hot second. And then I woke up just in time for when Ralph Fiennes drops the Uno reverse card and says, "I banish you." And I'm jumping out of my chair again. I'm like, "Oh,
That
all
seems
right."
so good. I banish you on TV.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a dip in entertainment value in the middle, I think. But upon my second watch, I realized, oh, it's all set up. This is important stuff. So it's not like a bad thing. It's just I wish I didn't fall asleep the first time.
Fair. Anna, what was your least favorite?
Well, I will say I like bleak endings, so I kind of like the ending, like just the finality of like Stour. I like that. I okay. I felt kind of thrown off with when he goes to Gerard Butler and they're like cleaning him up, and that woman's like cutting his hair in this like weird POV shot. It just kind of threw me off. It just felt weird in like the context of the movie. Just this like, I don't know. It was like almost like, I don't know. It was weird.
It was a very weird, like it almost felt like a music montage scene.
Yeah.
Like between her and Gerard Butler shaving his head. I was like, I don't know how long. I mean, this is taking longer than actually shaving a head. Like,
yeah. I
your
found
head
that a
would be
little
done.
odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
Okay.
yeah. I don't know. Well, is there anything else that I would like could single out? I mean, yeah, I think just like, not to knock Jessica Chastain, I think she's a good actress, but I think just the feeling of like watching her and then seeing Vanessa Redgrave, it was just kind of like, womp womp.
Yep. Especially since they're always on screen or in the same scenes together.
Yeah, it's always the two of them together, and it's like Vanessa Redgrave will deliver this like incredible monologue, and then Jessica Chastain will just be like, I have feelings too. And that's it.
Yeah, she's like it's like the bully and the lackey. She's like Vanessa Redgrave's like, oh, and she's like, you tell him, girl, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh,
She's like, I gave birth to your son. And it's like, you did. You go, girl.
His mother's like, I brought you into this world and I can take you out. And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and I got your kid too, so
Yeah.
Your Mark says it's pretty clear in the play he loves his mom more than his wife. Ooh, and of course his relationship with Aufidius is super sexy.
I could have dealt with more of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Where was that? Where's the Ralph Fiennes Gerard Butler action? Hello?
I mean, it was there. It was there. They could
I
have
did not. I saw a hug.
You didn't
through
feel
bulletproof
the
vests.
sexual tension between those two?
I don't know that I've ever felt sexual tension come off of Ralph Fiennes ever. Like, I don't know that I've ever felt that in a movie from him.
Not even in Harry Potter.
I was just about to say, I was like, other than like maybe like the pent up like Voldemort really needs to get some, like other than that. And oh my God, can we say that scene where he keeps saying boy over and over again? And I was like, can you stop? Because you're just like triggering this thing. Every time he went, boy, and I was like, stop it, you're doing the voice. Stop doing the voice.
My version of that was when all the citizens had their signs about how much they hate him, and they were like spray paint, like
and they looked like Voldemort. I was like, stop. Oh my God, you're right. Like, I did think that while I was watching it, and I didn't even remember until just now when he kept saying boy. I was like, I had to pause it because I was laughing. I was like, oh God, you got to cut it out.
When he was like screaming at people, it did make me think I'm overdue for an In Bruges rewatch. Because it's a really good screaming movie.
Oh God.
The screaming is so satisfying. I just love the screaming scene. Yeah, especially when it being on TV. And this is just so good. I think there were just so many smart directorial choices, which I say blindly, like, again, admitting I don't know this play very well, but it just seems like it's a very smart adaptation for how it places things in certain.
Can we speak to Ralph Fiennes' true love of this play because he directed, starred, and produced it? Like,
let's do it. Why do we think this is the one? What would the appeal be?
So I got about an hour into this movie before I was like, this feels like Capricorn culture. And lo and behold, guess who's a Capricorn? Ralph Fiennes.
Now,
He's so stoic, like
I
Capricorn.
don't know
He's
enough
always
about
so
astrology.
stoic.
What is Capricorn culture?
I think just this feeling like or it was around like The Exile, where it's just this like you give everything for something, but you're not nice enough, so they kick you out. You know, it's the lack of decorum, but the commitment to the cause.
Oh, I like that.
I've rarely met a Capricorn that's a bad person, but they're most often either like really stoic and closed off or butt heads.
Yeah.
And like they don't mean to be, they just are.
Stubborn, no bedside manner.
But
you
good
know,
people.
But we're loyal and we will commit to things.
So like, yeah, I would agree with that. That's pretty funny. And yeah, he's always so like, I don't want to say he takes himself too seriously because I never get that vibe, but he's straight faced, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm still trying to figure out, I think, what the appeal is to this character out of all. Like, if Ray Fiennes, I'm assuming was and is in a place in his career where if he wanted to make a Shakespeare movie with himself, he probably could have picked any of them and gotten the same funding. In fact, it probably would have been easier if he went for something like Macbeth or, nah, he's too young for King Lear. But still, like,
now he might be old enough for King
or
Lear.
Caesar.
Or Caesar, yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know Caesar as well, but yeah, this one, I think there is a lot to this play that I think has value. And what I find interesting about it is just how different, I guess, it is from all the other Shakespeare plays that sort of touch on similar types of characters or also touch on war. Is like when I think about Macbeth, for example, war is a part of it, but it's more about the husband-wife relationship, like, and wars in the background. The history plays, I feel those, like, almost all of them are about a war, but I think they're more an exploration about leadership and like what kind of person do we want to be our ruler. Whereas to me, this movie feels very much like let's look at why people go to war and what that appeal is. And the thing I find interesting about Coriolanus as a character is that I'm still kind of questioning what is driving this guy specifically. Is it personal honor? Is it for his country? Because I don't think it's for his country, because he turns on them pretty quickly because of pride. He's like, now I want to take you guys down, even if it means like running down my wife, child, and mom. I don't care. And he's just so aggressive. Whereas I think the mom is interesting because I feel like even though she's bred him to be that, I think she's the opposite. I feel she's somebody who prioritizes Rome over everything else, like over her son, over her family. And that's where the disconnect is between the two of them. But yeah, what does everyone else think? What do you feel is driving Coriolanus to do the things he's doing?
I feel like you could almost, if you want to compare him to his mom, I feel like almost you could say like duty versus honor, because they can often be the same thing, but I think he cares more about his own honor and she cares more about the duty.
Well said. Yeah, I've found a really short interview with Vanessa Redgrave before we jumped on this. And she said, and I didn't have time to go back to the text to see if it was there, but she was talking about how the character like loves her country and how her dad fought for the country, her grandfather fought for it. And there is probably something there in the text, but yeah, I love that. Yeah, Vince, what do you think? What's driving Corey?
I think Coriolanus. I think I think this is a good time to draw parallels between Gaius Marcius Coriolanus and Alexander the Great. Because in Alexander the Great, you have this guy who's obsessed with conquering his empire, and he also loves sleeping with dudes, which is awesome, right? But you also have Alexander the Great's mother, who's constantly sending him letters like, hey, you need to A, maybe sleep with a chick every now and then and produce an heir, and B, stop focusing so much on expanding your empire and focus on, the folks at home, trying to keep everything together politically. And you kind of have that coming across in Coriolanus, where he loves war, he loves the glory of battle, and he loves serving his nation in that way. And then when that gets taken away, he kind of falls apart, or he doesn't fall apart. He goes to the next the next highest bidder who's willing to facilitate his bloodthirst. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a great parallel there. Oh, and there's also sexual tension with Gerard Butler. So that's why I brought up Sleeping with Dudes. And I don't know. That's my view. I think Coriolanus, kind of a misunderstood guy. You know, if he made a few different changes, maybe they would have called him Coriolanus the Great, just like Alex.
I didn't know any of that about Alexander the Great.
Oh, it's true.
Like, I was ready for you to tell me about a Star Trek episode that I was.
No,
I was gonna be Star
not
Trek.
reminded of any Star Trek episodes here.
Really? None about
Yeah,
Willow?
I'm sure there's one or two I'm not thinking of, but
That's why I wasn't so interested in it.
Jeanette, what do you think? What's driving Corey?
So I saw this as a kind of brat prince type situation. Like, I feel like, because they mentioned he was bred into this, like he was going to do this. His mother obviously wasn't going to let him do anything else. So like, he's been told that he's done all this for greatness. And then, basically every time someone didn't support him right away, he went to the next person and was like, well, now I'm king of this castle. Now I'm king of this castle. And then when he finally learned his lesson, it was like the boy who cried wolf, and it was too late. And like, he came back and was like, I learned, I'm going to follow you. You're a good leader. And the guy's like, no. So yeah, I felt like it was kind of that situation where it was like, he just needed to be king of the castle somewhere. And every time that didn't happen, he was like, fine, I'm going to go doing somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just like he's the ultimate scapegoat. At the end of it, I forgot that they're at peace at the end, which was a weird surprise to me rewatching it this
Are
time.
they at peace? I figured
Peace treaty. Then he dies.
Oh, well, yeah, they signed a peace treaty, but then they killed him and left the body there.
Oh yeah, I feel like the countries are at peace, and it just kind of became personal. That's when Adolfo or
Oh,
I don't think they like Coriolanus enough to end the peace treaty because the other side killed him.
yeah, no, I think maybe that was the message, like, act up and find out.
Yeah, it sucks. At the end of the day, both countries that he fought for in one way or another kind of write him off and banish him. And then they're at peace, but like, well, he's dead.
Yeah.
That's all it took. Just kill him. So do we think Coriolanus would be a villain or an anti-hero? Or I'm conflicted as to how I feel about him morally. Because I think he's a dick. He's so mean. And he's so ruthless.
Yeah.
If he's the villain, who's the hero? Gerard Butler?
I don't know.
I don't think there are any heroes in the story. I think this is like Oppenheimer. I think this is like, even the people that we're focusing on here that are supposed to be the people that we like are not doing great things. Nobody's making great decisions at the end of the day. So like, whether they're smart or kind at some point, I don't think anybody here. I thought that too during the middle of it. I was like, am I still supposed to like this guy? But I kind of feel that way about a lot of Shakespeare, where I'm like, I don't know, everybody kind of sucks. Everybody's a butthead, it seems like. I don't know.
A lot of the tragedies feel like you did this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like
that's
that's
kind of the
about both
vibe.
sides, not just the stubborn, childish ones, but everybody.
Yeah, I almost feel like in some ways I read this as an audience member as a more effective tragedy by the end of it, because it's made me think about war. It's made me kind of constantly question both why are you fighting, what are you hoping to gain out of it, and how have things changed so much that like this one person is now equally passionate about taking down this other country when like literally yesterday it was the other way around. And then it ends up with him dying versus something like Hamlet, even though I know Hamlet is probably objectively a better play than this one. What always gets me is how quickly everyone dies at the end. Like I have to stifle laughter whenever I see Hamlet, because like 5 people die within like 5 seconds of each other.
So I thought that's what was going to happen. As soon as the dad died, I was like, oh, here it comes. Here comes the Shakespeare. Everybody's going to die. I was like, okay, cool. And then, that was really him, and then Coriolanus.
There's just one. I feel like this one death has more impact. It was almost like when I was watching Breaking Bad, I heard about how the ending was crazy and I was expecting all of them to die, but then it was just pretty well before well, spoilers, before the main character is offed at the very, very end. It was just Uncle Frank. Was that his name?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know who you're
Hank.
talking about.
Hank. It was Uncle Hank.
That's
Yeah, it was
it.
Hank.
Frank.
Yeah, Frank.
It's been so long. I was like, wait, yeah, that sounds right.
Like it was really death, but that one death held so much weight for everyone else that I think it amped up the tragedy. And I almost feel, well, I don't care enough about Coriolanus to care that he died, but for the bigger picture, I feel like that one death has more impact to me than like in Hamlet, where at one fencing match, everyone just is offed, whether by poison or by sword or by poison sword.
Isn't it in the Simpsons Hamlet episode where like Marge walks in and everyone's dead and she's like, I'm not cleaning this up. And then offs herself.
I was gonna make that reference, but I didn't think anyone else would get it, so I'm really glad you did.
I'll always get the Simpsons references. That's what I'm here for.
I love that.
This is like my first touch point of basically any culture is the Simpsons episode about it.
Amazing. Rear Window. That was my first touch point for Rear Window.
Oh, same here.
Yeah, so good. So kind of on that point, now that we've kind of seen one version at least of Coriolanus, granted, I think a lot of liberties were taken. Why do you think this play is less popular than some of the other tragedies like a Macbeth or a Hamlet?
Because there's no sex or supernatural stuff in it. That would be my answer personally.
Fair?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know. I think Hamlet probably has a lot of appeal for like staging that production because for an actor you get all those like meaty soliloquies. And so I feel like that makes it probably more of a like dream role for a lot of people. But yeah, I don't know. I think it is surprising that this isn't staged more or like adapted more because you could definitely do it in so many different war contexts.
Definitely. And I feel like war is always relevant, sadly.
Yeah.
And I think like it's almost like Yoda from Mark said, satisfying hunger is the main theme of the play. Like the whole opening is about how there's no corn and everyone is like famine is taking over the country and in different capacities. I think that's always relevant in some way. And I think there are other war plays that he's done that people just seem to gravitate more towards, like Julius Caesar. Well, I don't know Caesar that well, but I feel like Caesar is kind of the go-to war play in the Shakespeare canon. Maybe. Yeah, but this is war.
I didn't even know, like, this was the first Shakespeare that had been brought up that I didn't even know existed before. Like, I'd never heard of Coriolanus. I was like, wow, this is the first in general. Where, like, there was just no context for it. The other ones, at least, even if I haven't actually read them, I'm like, well, I know the story to some degree enough to, because it's just part of the zeitgeist. But, yeah, this was a totally new one.
Yeah, and
is this based on a real person?
I can't.
Is this like a real Roman?
Might affect the game later, but yes, I think it is.
Okay,
I'm fairly certain it is. Yeah,
or like I assume kind of maybe like loosely adapted. Like this guy existed at some point in history, and Shakespeare was like, "Here's my spin on it."
I think it was actually a fairly.
Yeah.
It was
based on the life of Gnaeus Marcius Coriolanus.
That's pretty close.
It is.
Yes, worked on it during the same time as Antony and Cleopatra.
There's a
the
lot.
last two of his tragedies.
What if?
Oh, these were the last two. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh wow. What if this play isn't as popular because like it comes with the difficult obstacle of this dip in the middle? What if the audience keeps falling asleep time and time again for the last 400 years? What if the queen herself fell asleep during her performance? And for that reason, no one touches this play.
I thought you were I thought you were going to say, what if this isn't as popular because no one wants to get ninth graders to read the title? Like no high school English teacher is like, well, we could do Lear this year, or you know what the kids will treat really well? A play called Coriolanus.
It could be all of the above.
Yeah.
Be all of the above. But I guess to your point, Vince, if Queen, it was Elizabeth, right? Yeah. If Queen Elizabeth sat through the play about her, which is, I think, one of the most boring ones, she has no excuse to fall asleep during Coriolanus. Oh wait, she was dead, I think, by the time this came out. Because if this was his second or one of his last tragedies, the King
The Boy King?
James John. At some point in Shakespeare's career, Elizabeth died.
James the Second?
Sure, maybe. It might have been Jimmy too. One of the kings took over, and then his plays got really dark. Because I think he was like, well, she's not going to judge me now. And also, I'm old and don't care. So let me just write the darkest crap I can. Here we go. That's when you got stuff like Measure for Measure. Has anyone read Measure for Measure? It's so messed up. No, it's basically logline. A nun is told that if she doesn't sleep with the mayor or the guy in charge, not the mayor, but the guy in charge, her brother's going to die. And then crazy stuff happens.
Why is there no movie about that one?
Who knows? There's so many.
Like
There's so many like little known Shakespeare plays, and there are cases though where I have seen like plays that I've only maybe heard of in passing, and I've thought to myself, I understand why people don't do this often, because it's not that good, or it's confusing, or it goes in way too many directions, like hashtag Cymbeline. But this, yeah, I'm constantly surprised that this isn't done more, because I think the story is pretty straightforward, minus the politics getting a little bit confusing. I think it has some really great characters, and to bring it back to what I more or less opened with, I think there's an incredible role for like an older female actor and without having to gender swap anything or recontextualize. Like Shakespeare wrote it for a mom of a middle-aged man, and she's like one of the most interesting characters in the play. If not, I would almost say she might be one of my favorite Shakespeare characters in the canon, in terms of like unpacking what's going on in her head, because it could go in so many different directions.
Yeah. She's so messed up, as is he, as are all of them. What's this? Of course, the government gave me serve and also let people to vote. He's pretty Jacobite. I don't think theater audiences align with him. Ooh, interesting. So fair. So, yeah, what is... I want to ask how this fits politically into our world now. We've kind of touched on that, but also I don't know enough about politics really to weigh in. But does anyone have thoughts on how the political system is portrayed in this play? I know, Anna, you kind of touched on it, the utopia fantasy that it gives us.
Yeah, where politicians say awful things about the people they govern, and everyone's like, you can't do that. That's not allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would like more people to say that instead of going, yeah, you're right. That would be great. I think this does translate to a lot of different issues in the world, right? Like I'm seeing it through this lens right now, but then like I said, like if I had seen it when it first came out, I'd be like, oh, well, this obviously has to do with something that's going on in a different country. Like, I mean, there's different, and if you watch it back in the did you see there was a wall that said 1994 on it? And for a second, I got really thrown. I was like, is this 1994? But then people had flip phones, and I was like, no, this is not 1994. I'm so confused.
I think kind of the like Balkan context of it sort of makes it like yeah, like you could have done this like set in the 90s, or just sort of this like alternate universe world, you know?
I did think it was interesting because it was 2011, so like most of us had iPhones or some sort of regular like this sort of phone, or BlackBerry or whatever, and I didn't see a single one of them. I saw flip phones pretty much the whole time, which I was like, even then that would have been kind of like odd. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting touch. I was like, it did that thing where like it confused me enough about the timeline to tell me that they wanted me to not worry about the timeline. They were like, you don't need to worry when this is happening. That's what the point is.
Yeah, the flip phones to me kind of read like it was reinforcing the poverty of those people, that like more expensive technology existed, but only like one person has a phone, and that person's phone is a flip phone. So there it is.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah, but I guess that kind of transitions into one of the next things I wanted to discuss, but just how did everyone feel about the setting? It was kind of specifically modern, but at the same time, I think it was purposely vague. Like one of my favorite things is how they open by just flashing the title card that says it's a place calling itself Rome, which to me just kind of gives permission for them to keep the text and the references to Rome and the other place, Volcanos or Volsky, the land of Gerard Butler. And you don't have to know exactly where it is, but it's familiar enough. Like, did that work for everyone, or did the discrepancy and lack of specificity throw anyone off?
I thought like I just said, like it aided in the like, please don't worry about this. Like I was like, okay, cool. I don't need to really think like, why aren't they speaking Italian? Like, which is the number one thing with Shakespeare, right? When you're watching it and you're like, okay, they're in X, Y, or Z place, but they're still British. Okay, cool. But yeah, so that always helps with that when they're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think I've gotten so used to that I just like I just try not to let it bother me ever, and it's just like, whatever. You just kind of go into it knowing that, it's going to be a little bit not of our world, no matter what.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see it, with swords and sandals in, ancient Rome and on the Senate floor kind of stuff, but that's also way more expensive than what they did. So I'm okay with this. And plus, we got a cool knife fight and some guns and some explosions. So it was fine. This kind of reminds me of a production of Macbeth I saw at Stratford quite some time ago, where they set it during World War One, and it was in the trenches, and it was really cool. And I think they did a good job with that. So I'm okay with Shakespeare being in other time periods.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite choices personally is when it is kind of an amalgamation or a mishmash. What's that word? Yeah, that of different time periods, because that is kind of how the plays were written anyway. Even if things were taking place in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, he would still even make references to things that existed in Elizabethan England. So, like, everything is just so heightened and so, like we've said, not of the world, that I personally really get excited when there are weird discrepancies sort of at play. I mean, it's a little more subtle and more streamlined in this versus when we get to Titus in 2 weeks, which is why I love Titus, because it is so ridiculously mixed up, where they'll have swords, but then there's also like World War I tanks kicking around. And then it's like ancient Rome, but at the same time, like the politicians look like they're from the 1920s. Oh, it's so good. I can't wait to talk about Titus. Yeah. What else can we talk about with this movie? Is that it? Anything else? Any other thoughts?
Go ahead, Ben.
If they adopted the original, Shakespearean style and cast a bunch of dudes in drag as the ladies, I think Liam Neeson would have been a really good Coriolanus's mom.
He's too young. Maybe now.
Being as he looks just like Ralph. Whenever Ralph Fiennes gets the facial hair in profile, especially, I was like, that is a young Liam Neeson. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's what I was going
Brian
for.
Cox in a dress.
Yeah,
he would. I think he'd be fine with that.
That's an interesting thought. I don't think anybody's shaving that cat. That's gnarly.
Trying to think who I would cast in drag as Coriolanus's mom.
Can I just say, while we're on the topic of drag, because I wrote it down earlier because I was thinking about it, if Coriolanus was a drag name, it would be Coriolanus.
Really good.
But if it was an Irish drag queen, maybe it would be Coriolanus. Anyway, that's what I brought to this. I was like, I gotta write this down. Best thought that I had about this movie.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, that said, yeah, I don't know what else to say about this movie aside from I love it. And war is bad. The movie tells us war is bad.
Yeah.
Here it is.
War.
Matt,
The movie tells us
number
war.
one Shakespeare adaptation is?
Oh yeah. Sorry, what?
What's your number one Shakespeare adaptation?
Yeah, it's Titus.
Ah, nice.
That's why we're closing out with Titus. Although that might be an outdated opinion, because that's just kind of what I decided maybe 10 years ago was my favorite. And I haven't really done the work to check to see if it still holds up. But I think it does. But yeah, I'm still comfortable saying that this is my second favorite. And Romeo and Juliet from last week is my third favorite. Or the other two? Oh, the other two that are actually not a part of our lineup that I had in my top 5 were the Ethan Hawke Hamlet, which is again, a very divisive opinion because a lot of people hate the Ethan Hawke Hamlet. I love it because it modernizes it in a way that makes total sense. And I just think they do a lot of really cool stuff filmically. It uses voiceover for the soliloquies, which I adore, which like he wasn't the first person to do that. Laurence Olivier did that. But with Laurence Olivier, he's literally just like sitting on a rock and you hear it. Whereas what I appreciate with Ethan Hawke Hamlet is during the soliloquies, you're seeing him just doing mundane activities, which to me heightens the element of this is what he's thinking while he's just doing stuff. And I adore that. And then my other favorite on my list from a few years ago was the Joss Whedon Much Ado About Nothing. Even though the Kenneth Branagh one is probably objectively better, which I'll maybe decide when we rewatch for next week. But I like the simplicity of the Joss Whedon Much Ado About Nothing because it was just a bunch of people at his house over a weekend when he had time off after the Avengers making a movie. So it was just kind of like a Hollywood version of making a movie with your friends. And the simplicity of that, of just like being able to get a bunch of people together with limited resources and do the play using the text. I find that very creatively exciting. Even though their text work isn't great, I like the purity of it. Purity might be the wrong word applied to Joss Whedon, but still, the movie, I like the purity of it. So there it is. What's everyone else's favorite Shakespeare movie while we're here?
Am I allowed to say 10 things I hate about you?
I was gonna say, does it have to be one that sticks to
Does it have to be like a super direct adaptation,
It's 10
or
things I hate
can we
about
take
you.
a little bit of liberties here?
We could take some liberties. Is it 10?
Okay, then I think 10 things. I
And
really
I
like
think
the
we've agreed on more on this episode than we agreed. I was like, yay. Yeah, it's definitely 10 things I hate about you.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Denzel Francis McDormand Macbeth that came out a few years ago.
That
That
one.
is
I thought that was spectacular.
I really like the Macbeth that Justin Kurzel did like 10 years ago with Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard.
There's
That's like a
There's
brutal
a Fassbender one? Ooh.
Yeah.
It's
I think it
so
was
bleak.
2014, 2015, but yeah, that's a fun one. I like a lot of the choices made in that one.
Did you ever see the Australian one with Sam Worthington?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, he's like a drug dealer.
I'm thinking of
in
Sam
the
Neill, not
modern
Sam
day.
Worthington.
Yeah, it's Australian Macbeth. The witches are like high school goth girls, and the
Stop it.
Old.
Get out
the
of
movie
here.
opens with them like defacing a cemetery.
Oh, now I have to
a
watch
mess.
it. Get
I'm
out
looking
of
this one
here.
up.
Yeah, I remember it being both good but not.
That's bad
It's like
goths.
cheap.
Goths don't
Lots of
deface
sound
cemeteries.
stages.
Yes, I remember. Also, I think there was either a lot of violence or a lot of nudity or both.
I like a little bit of both or a lot more nudity. I'll take the nudity over the
I
violence.
think all the elements would come together. I think you'd enjoy the.
Okay.
It's probably not the best Macbeth movie. In fact, out of all the options,
It's probably better that it be a worse Macbeth for me because that probably means I'll be able to digest it a little easier.
I feel like the popular opinion is that when it comes to Macbeth movies, the Roman Polanski one seems to be the definitive. I think I only watched it in high school. I remember not being that impressed, but people seem to like that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another one that I saw in high school and I haven't watched it since, but yeah, I think it's like as far as I remember, I think just like super bleak, like just at the point in his life when this was made, super bleak.
That was right after the thing. Yeah, that explains a lot.
Not a time of great optimism.
Nope,
that's for sure.
Oh, Shakespeare movies.
Yeah.
Another one that I really appreciate. Because I think objectively it might be the best on-screen translation of this text, even though it's not my favorite movie version of this play. The Kevin Kline, Michelle Pfeiffer, Midsummer Night's Dream, I think from '99, is amazing.
That's the only version I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's so lush and beautiful in every way that it should be.
Is that the one with Christian Bale?
Yes, and it has an all-star cast. You got Christian Bale, Dominic.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't watched that like since it came out, and I don't think I know who Christian Bale was then, and now I have to go rewatch it.
Oh yeah, and he's Demetrius, who's like also in my top 10 probably favorite Shakespeare characters. It's vastly underrated.
That's one of like in my opinion, like that's the one of the Shakespeare stories where I'm like, you could do this a million different ways, and I would probably like I would take it like a billion different takes on it. You know, like give me a Burton take on it. I don't know.
I adore Midsummer. One day I'll make my Midsummer movie. That's my life goal. I have the screenplay written, like it exists.
Whoa.
To win a lottery, and then I can make it or get it in.
That's got to be one of the more expensive ones to make, right? Because there's so much like supernatural type or
You would
fantasy
think so.
elements to
I
it.
wrote it in a way where I could be done really cheap,
Oh, okay. Cool.
but very effectively. I think. But yeah. Plus, there's a donkey. Love the donkey. Yeah, and fairies. Oh, just so good. Should have programmed Midsummer. Oh well.
Now, when I think of Midsummer, though, I do think of what you call it, Dead Poets Society or whatever.
Dead Poets Society, really?
Isn't that the one that he does in that one? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Oh, it might be.
I think that's the one he does in that movie.
I was worried you were going to say Midsummer with Florence Pugh.
Oh, no, I
Different movie.
think that movie's always in my mind. I don't have to try to think. It's just living rent-free right here.
If I didn't know kind of what happens in that movie, I would fall into the trap of watching it just because of the poster. Because she just looks so at peace with her little flower crown, and it's called Midsummer. So I thought,
Well, I guess it depends on what poster you're looking at.
fun.
Some of them, she has an extremely anguished face.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of the one where she's like looking into the sun, and she
Yeah,
looks
some of them she's just looking off, and some of them she's like, yeah.
And there's that one screenshot of her, and it looks like she's crying. She's crouching on the ground, and other women are around her. And for the longest time, I would just glance at that, and I thought it was a screenshot from Mamma Mia. I thought that was Amanda Seyfried.
It does look like Mama.
It's like, honey, honey, how he thrills me.
Oh my god.
Anyway, time
Now
for the game.
I want to make a meme and just take a picture of that scene and put the Mamma Mia like poster text around it. Because it would look
I
great.
feel like I actually might have done that when I first made that connection. Or no, I remember I posted the screenshot, and I think I just maybe did this on my Instagram stories. I was like, is this or is this not a shot from Mamma Mia the movie? And everyone unanimously knew it wasn't. And I was like, well, my humor is lost on all of you, but here we are. All right. For tonight's game, inspired by the age-old question, is Coriolanus a real person? I am going to put the title of a Shakespeare play on the screen. You have to tell me if it is a play that is based on true events or not. Now, the way I drew this distinction, to be clear, because there is a lot of gray zone, is that I consider it real events if the character or the people in the play are documented as having been real humans. Like maybe the narrative isn't exactly what happened to them in their real life, but documented as real people, as opposed to figures from myth who may or may not have existed. So like, I didn't include Troilus and Cressida, which is his Trojan War play, but under these rules, Troilus and Cressida wouldn't count as fact because I don't think there's like enough definitive proof that they were real people. Versus like Henry V, that's not on my list, who is very real person.
What about Santa? Because there's male documentation that Santa exists.
Santa does exist, so I don't know.
Cool.
But he didn't
There's
write
a Shakespeare play about. I was gonna say that would be the coolest.
I wish there was.
I don't know. Hey, there's still some lost plays floating around, so you never know.
You know what? I once, as soon as I got onto ChatGPT, which I don't really use ever because I'm kind of against AI in some ways. But
I love AI.
Out of curiosity.
Yeah, you better not insult your future overlords.
That's true.
I've named mine Charlize.
Did you give her a South African accent as well?
One day.
I asked Charlize to write me a Shakespeare play about King Arthur because I've always questioned why don't we have a Shakespeare play about King Arthur? Since no, there's not, and you would think there would be.
Yeah, I think like Mandela effect. I just thought that there was one called Camelot for some strange reason.
No,
I
there's
don't know why. Or Excalibur or something.
No, both of those are things, but not Shakespeare things.
Huh.
Yeah, and actually, Vanessa Redgrave was in the Camelot movie, so full circle. She was Guinevere. Yeah,
there we go.
There you go. But anyway, yeah, there's not a Shakespeare play about King Arthur or Camelot, so I asked AI to write one for me, and it wasn't good. It was okay. It wasn't good though. Like I wasn't going to produce it. Anyway, you have to tell me fact or fiction. That's what we'll call the game. Shakespeare, fact or fiction. I'm going to pull up. Oh, I still have the score from last week. That's fine. I'm going to delete it. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay. Your first Shakespeare play, fact or fiction? King Lear. Fact or fiction? Okay, let's start with Vince.
Fiction.
Got one for fiction. Okay, Jeanette. Okay, Hannah. Yes, we were going for fake. Oh, I thought I would get everyone with that one, but you're all too good. Here we go. So yeah, people seemingly think that, well, I guess not on this channel, but people usually conflate him because you assume that if it's a play that has king in it, it's going to be based on a real person, but that's like the only one. Next, Hamlet. Let's see. We'll start with Jeanette this time. One for fiction. Okay. Anna?
I don't know.
Vince?
I think I might be wrong, but I'm going with fiction.
You're all right. He's fake too.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, people do speculate that Hamlet was named after Shakespeare's real life son, Hamnet, who died, but like that just didn't name. Yeah, he did not, like, Shakespeare's deceased child was not the actual Prince of Denmark. So there we are. Next, Richard the Third. Richard the Third. Oh, you heard from Mark's comment is funny. Pretty sure this.
Wasn't Hamlet also like Norse mythology? Because the Northman is like Hamlet.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe it. I mean, pretty well everything. I don't think Shakespeare had any original ideas, so I'm sure Hamlet came out of somewhere.
Sons of Anarchy is basically Hamlet for the first season or two.
Is it really?
Yeah.
There are ghosts?
It's Hamlet with motorcycles. No ghosts.
Well, then it's not Hamlet.
Well, there's ghosts from the past, but not ghosts, you know?
Not ghosts. They need to be ghosts or else. Yeah, not Hamlet. All right, let's start with Vince. Vince, Richard III, fact or fiction? Okay, we got one for fact. Anna? Real. Jeanette? You're all right. Okay, wow. Maybe I made this game too easy. Next, Othello.
Oh, no.
I believe in you. I believe in you, Vince. Let's start with Vince again.
I think he might have been a real guy.
Okay. Jeanette? All right.
Shit.
Hey, I know the least about Shakespeare here, I think.
All right. Anna, what are you feeling? Fake. He was fake.
Ah.
I know it's bad for you, Vince, but good for me because we're not in a three-way tie anymore. So hooray!
At
Romeo
least,
and
oh,
At least what?
at least the truth conquers all on this one.
Let's start with Anna on this one.
Okay, wait 1 second.
Yeah.
Last minute.
Real. Okay. Jeanette? Fiction. Vince? We were looking for fiction. That is correct.
I took a gamble.
You took, and it could have paid off. It could have paid off. I see a world where like everyone knew about the Capulets and the Montagues, and Shakespeare was the only one who was brave enough to write about them.
Well, it just seems like, it's statistically likely that at some point in history, two like 15-year-olds fell in love and their families were like, no, and they killed themselves. Like,
Exactly. I think
that has to have happened.
that's Pyramus and Thisbe. It's classic Pyramus and Thisbe.
Yeah.
There's a Simpsons episode about that, I think. Yes. It's newer, though, so it's in the realm of I don't have nostalgic value for this. King John.
I saw this play once. I remember nothing. It was very boring. I drove to Stratford to see this play. And that was the only thing I saw. It wasn't one of those fun double bill days where like I saw a musical for the matinee, then I went to this. No, I drove the 2.5 hours just to see King John and just to drive back.
King John.
There, yeah. Oh, I was going to say something, but it would have maybe been a spoiler. Jeanette, let's start with you. Okay, we have one for fact. Anna. Real. Vince.
Yeah, to me, when you say boring, I think, it's got to be real then.
He is, in fact, real. He's based on the same John that is in The Lion in Winter. So I kind of spent all of King John just thinking I wish I was watching The Lion in Winter.
Oh, I think I texted you about this. Yeah, we're bringing up Lion in Winter. Lion in Winter beat Clockwork Orange for best film. So, yeah.
Wow.
The year that it was up.
What? Lion in Winter didn't
I think it
film.
Did it not?
No, I think the only...
it was something else that year then. There was something else it was up for. Maybe it was director.
No, I think the only Oscar Lion in Winter one was for Katharine Hepburn. I think. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
sounds
It was
right.
something it beat it for that year.
If
at the
Katharine Hepburn
Oscars.
was up for an Oscar, she probably won it.
Yeah. Actually, that
I
was...
have to look it up later, but it was something it beat it out for. I swear it was Best Picture.
No. Well, okay, I haven't seen Clockwork Orange, but I was going to say I would vote for Lion in Winter over Clockwork Orange.
I know you would.
Yeah, but just can't do it. Next, Coriolanus. I mean, this is kind of free space. Vince? Fact. Anna? Real. Jeanette? Yes, it's fact. There we go. Next, Titus Andronicus.
That's a silly name. the best you can only be Titus Burgess. There are no other Tituses. Get out there.
Oh my! Wait, did anyone watch? What's Titus's TV show? Kimmy Schmidt. Did anyone watch
Titus
I've watched-
Andromedon?
Titus
I've-
Andromedon, and then his rival is named Coriolanus.
Oh.
The guy-
Oh my god!
All the
It
same
is. Oh
things.
my god!
Yeah.
Oh, it was screenplay. It's screenplay. That's what it was.
Oh, and it won
I
for
looked it up.
screenplay.
It beat it out that year. I was like, anyway,
Good-
that's
good
just
for
my
mine.
own personal outrage.
Good for Lion in Winter. Anna, what do you feel about Titus? Fake. Okay. Vince? Fact.
Okay.
Jeanette? Fact. It is fake. He is criminal. He doesn't
Darn
exist.
it.
I wavered on that one.
You made the gamble paid off. All right. Macbeth. All right. Let's start with Vince.
Well, I know that he's a real guy because of the curse. It's a cursed place, so he's got to be a real guy, right?
I mean, technically, the curse was placed by witches of Shakespeare's era that were like, "Don't write about us."
Well, it's all connected. These
right.
witches have ascended beyond space and time.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Okay. Anna. Real. Okay. Jeanette.
I'm getting peer pressured here, so I'm gonna.
He was real.
Oh.
Yep. As was Lady Macbeth. She had a really unfortunate name. It was like, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's like Garach or something. Let me see.
Like
Lady.
It's a
Celtic?
little guttural. That's fine.
It's like Grouch.
Grook.
Gruch.
Rook?
Oh,
Yeah.
Grook.
That was
That's
her
a
name.
real name that they had. Grook.
Gruch.
I know.
I see that. I'm just like Oscar the Gruch. There you go. All
You've
right.
heard of Brooke Shields? Well, this is Grook Shields.
That's really good.
Gruch Shields playing Lady
Grook.
Macbeth. Good money. I'd take great money for that. Okay, final question of the regular round. The Tempest.
That's not a name.
You're right. It's a play though that has
Storms were called tempests in those days, so
is it based
So
on
are you asking if the storm is real or is this a person? I'm so confused.
the person, if Prospero.
It's a person. Okay.
Yeah, the play's about Prospero and Prospero's people.
Prospero.
Yeah, it's about Prospero and Prospero's people.
Hang on, is this the one where like someone's impersonating her brother or something?
Oh, that's 12th Night.
Okay. Oof. This one's gonna be a shot in the dark then.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's about this.
Let's start with Vince.
Fact.
Okay. Anna. Real. Okay. Jeanette. It is fiction. There was no tempest. He invented the idea of a tempest. Well, that part's not true, but yeah, I think it might even be his last play. So that's why he kind of gave up. He was like, it's all about magic. Yeah, the Tempest, I think I like it, but it's not for a play that's about a bunch of people on a magic island. It's not as kooky as I want.
I thought it was the name of a Stephen King book. Is it the name of a Stephen King book?
He's written a lot of books. It's entirely possible.
I feel
No,
like
there's the Talisman.
There's the no, I know, but what's the one that's like? There is one that's like a storm of some. Unless it was this all along, and
Storm
I
of the
just thought it
Century?
was. Maybe I'm wrong. I totally thought there was a Stephen King book named this.
Hurricane Stephen.
All right, so these are our points. As always, you get to Jeopardy style decide how many you would like to wager. Vince has 7, Anna has 8, and Jeanette has 9. How many do we want? Do we want to be strategic here? Vince, what are you going to wager?
I'm gonna bet it all, Ken.
All right, Anna.
I'm gonna bet 7.
Smart. We like a smart move. Jeanette.
All in.
All in. Okay. I'm going to show you a quote from a Shakespeare play. It is one of the 10 plays that we just discussed that were part of the game. All you have to do is tell me which play this quote is from.
Is it who gets it first, or do we write it down?
You all get to write it down. Yeah. And if you get it correct, then your wager is added to your score. If you get it wrong, it's subtracted. Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. Actually, well, there shouldn't be a period between heave and my heart, but that's the line. Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart.
Do we get extra points if we guess who says it?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Good question, Vince. Good question.
Thank you.
I thought this would be hard. I feel like everyone.
I hope I have the confidence. This is the most confident I've ever been about an answer about Shakespeare before.
Really?
And it might be completely undue. I think I'm just being cocky.
Let's start with Jeanette.
All right, it's Coriolanus and Coriolanus.
Okay. Vince?
Oh, no, this is Macbeth, and it's
It's
Lady
Macbeth.
Gluck Macbeth. My girl Gluck.
Okay. Anna?
Titus Andronicus?
All right. We have a winner. And it's Anna with the 1 point that you didn't.
Nice.
I thought you'd pick it because it's your favorite. Like,
No. Oh, fair.
yeah, you play favorites.
Although I do enjoy my favorites. No, it's King Lear. Although I wonder, is Titus? I don't think Titus is my favorite play. Although it might be. Midsummer is probably my favorite. Probably. But I do also love Titus. But no, this is King Lear. This is Cordelia. It's right at the beginning. Does everyone know King Lear? So
I've read it just
actually,
like 10 years ago.
it's boring. But the opening scene is so good. It's where this happens, where Lear is like, daughters, I'm going to divvy up the kingdom. Tell me how much you love me. And based on how much I like your answer, that's how much kingdom you get. And then the two wicked, well, they're not stepsisters, but the two evil older sisters are like, sir, I love you more than the sun and the moon. He's like 1/3 of the kingdom. And then the next one's like, sir, I love you more than the heavens and the earth. He's like 1/3 of the kingdom. Then his favorite daughter, Cordelia, the youngest one, he even says like, you're my favorite. I saved you for last. Come tell me how much you love me. And then she's just like, no. It's like, no, you don't understand the game. You tell me how much you love me, then I give you kingdom. Then she's like, no, I have nothing to say to you. Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. And then he gets angry and banishes her. People get banished a lot in Shakespeare plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
love
so,
that that's a thing we used to do as humans. Like,
just banish people.
just vanished. We were like, get out of our place, dude.
Oh yeah, and
Somewhere
Romeo
else.
was banished. There's always banishment.
And I don't think he
Banishment.
made that up. I think they did that, right? Didn't we do that when cities had walls and stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it was probably easier to banish people then than it would be now.
We have a big wall and a catapult. You better leave.
Exactly. Could
That would be a good game. Name the play, and then people have to guess who gets banished in
Who
it.
got banished? That's
will be
next
next week.
Who got banished?
Who got banished? Could you banish someone now? Would that work legally? Like with
Yeah, it's called deportation.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, we can.
Yeah.
Can you be deported from your country of birth or your country of origin?
No, that would be exile, and we don't do that. At least not in America. The America.
Well, what about with the vaccine passports? I don't want to get into that, but like that was like borderline there for a little while.
Oh,
For a
I
hot
hear you.
second.
I was like, wait, what is that? I was like, oh yeah.
Was that a thing? All of that is a blur. Those like 3.5 years are a blur.
And a blur it should remain.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's not clarify that blur anymore.
Oh no. I mean, I blinked and it went from March 12th, 2020 to here we are now talking about Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Hooray. Anyway, there we go. So closing thoughts. What did you learn from Coriolanus, either the play or the experience of watching this movie? Let's start with Jeanette.
I learned that it made my blanket statement of I don't like war movies more validated. I was like, yes, I've watched another one. Still don't like them. So yeah, it made me feel like I wasn't just being judgy. I'm like, nah, I've now taken another one on. I will say what I took away too is I do like being challenged as a viewer. Like it's nice to not watch something that makes me totally comfortable all the time. So that was a great experience to have because I don't do it enough to myself.
Nice. Vince?
You know what? I liked it. It's a good movie. I think the actors made the Shakespearean language, the old contemporary English, I think they call it. They made it very digestible as a modern viewer who doesn't, read too much Shakespeare. I feel like I got the gist of what everyone was saying. Not as many sex jokes in this as I was expecting for Shakespeare, but it's tragic. And even if the script is a little dry, they had some knife fights, and it was a great time. So, Coriolanus, they give it one thumbs up. It's pretty good. I liked it.
Nice. Anna?
I have to do this because I've had this drilled in me so many times. I just have to say, people think Shakespeare's Old English. It's Middle English. I have to.
It's good.
Like early contemporary English, or
it's like Old English is like Beowulf. Like Old English is like that is like nothing to do with us. But I read too much Old English in my undergrad to not be a little pedantic about it. I learned that we can pretty safely assume what Ray Fiennes' favorite Shakespeare play is because he wanted to make it this bad. And I reaffirmed my belief that Vanessa Redgrave is just the best.
Yes, I'm a Vanessa Redgrave stan, as the kids say. I don't even know that I've seen any of her other work. I'm sure I have. I just don't know what. Maybe I
Have
haven't.
you seen The Devils?
No, what's The Devils?
Oh, it's good. It's also historical. It's Ken Russell. It's like 70 something. But it's like about, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just she plays a nun and things get sinny. That's the best way I can
All I have to hear.
I don't want to give
Right.
it away. It's a wild ride. You got to watch
Yay,
The Devils.
yay for exciting 70s exploitation. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's just fun.
Oh, okay. I'm sold. That's the next Vanessa Redgrave movie I'm going to watch. I thought it would be Camelot, but no, it's that one. What's it called?
The Devils.
The Devils. Okay. The Devils. Things get cinny. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for indulging me and watching my second favorite Shakespeare movie of all time. Next week, we are back to talk about what I think is one of my least favorite Shakespeare movies of all time. So that'll be fun. It's Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing, because my hot take is that I don't like when Kenneth Branagh directs Shakespeare. I seemingly like when he directs not Shakespeare. But the thing that built his career and the thing that I claim to love, not a fan. So there it is. Although I am excited to see it because I feel like Emma Thompson as Beatrice is inspired casting. And if nothing else, I know she'll be amazing because I love Emma Thompson. So hooray. But until then, it's the time. Do the sign off. Tell everyone everything you want them to know about you. Let's start with Vince.
Oh, hey, everyone. I had a great time today. Thanks for listening to me. And thanks, Matt, for having me on the show, you know?
Thanks for being here.
Hey, anytime. I run a little YouTube channel called Vinny Ridge Media, which has my show called Only Time Will Tell. And it's fun, you know. It's like kind of a half parody of old paranormal documentaries, you know? So check me out. I got something coming out about a lighthouse and a necrophiliac lighthouse keeper from 1880. And it's a weird story, and it's mostly true. So stay tuned.
Nice. That sounds even better than that movie with Willem Dafoe and the Mermaid and the Lighthouse.
Well, I draw a few parallels, so keep an eye out.
I shall. Thank you. Well, that seemed to excite Jeanette. So there's Jeanette.
It did. I love that movie so much. When you were talking about it, I was like, is it from the movie, that story? Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, I'm very excited for next week. You can find me here next week because I just found out Michael Keaton's in this movie. So I'm always down for a Michael Keaton performance. So that got me ready for next week. You can also find me on We Like Theme Parks podcast with a new episode coming this Thursday. So you can catch up with our March Madness. It's not March anymore, but we're still very full of madness. So you should come check it out. And you can find me at TinkerJ787 on Instagram.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Hi. You can find me on here occasionally, usually with my better half. I need to correct myself because I'm embarrassed now. Shakespeare's not Middle English, it's early modern English. So that was my bad. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Anna Swanson. And yeah, I guess you'll see me around watching Vanessa Redgrave movies.
Woot! Thank you, Anna. And if you're watching this on my channel, my name is Matt and I have 2 degrees. Thank you for joining us for week 2 of the Shakespeare Movie Marathon. Again, join us next week where we will be watching Much Ado About Nothing, the Kenneth Branagh edition with an all-star cast. Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson, Denzel Washington, Canada's treasure, Keanu Reeves, Michael Keaton, and a bunch of other people who I can't remember. Oh, the kid from Dead Poets Society, who's not Ethan Hawke. He's in it too. And other people. So yeah, we'll be here to discuss that. Keep an eye out on my Etsy store because once again, I am marathoning my way through t-shirt designs to try to get at least 1 shirt per Shakespeare play. So once those are released, we're going to do the Shakespeare birthday sale. It's my favorite sale of the year where maybe I sell like 2 shirts. I look forward to it all year round. Anyway, thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Matt, 2 degrees, teacup 41. How do you end this?